Great. Okay. Tips and tricks for Unit 3, Lesson 6, Functions and Top-Down Design. Now, this one is actually a really important one, and I'll show you why, because there's actually a piece of the rubric for the AP Create Performance task that we're going to be dealing with here, and that's why I want to make sure that you are very thoughtful with what you are working on when it comes to top-down design. So when we're talking again about abstraction, abstraction is always super important, simplified representation of something more complex. We're going to be, again, talking about functions. Functions and abstractions are very, they're actually quite related in JavaScript because a function really is a simplified grouping of steps to do something. So if we wanted to, like in Lesson 5, you wanted to create the diamond, well, first we created a step, then we created a side, then we put steps and sides, we put steps together to create a side, then we put sides together to create a diamond. And that diamond function is actually an abstraction because when you actually call to the diamond, draw diamond function, it actually creates a diamond without us having to know all the details in between. So the other piece is this top-down design, and this is going to be very helpful if you understand this now for when you are designing your create task in the near future, because you really want to be able to use this type of design feature. So without going into a lot of details, you have already or should have already gone through the Nearpod presentation, which would have had you brainstorm a way in which to create this cross here. And you would have broken it down into function names, not necessarily the code, because this is where you're actually going to be grading the code, and making sure that your code is actually well organized, where you have your function that you're going to call to at the top, and then you have your functions that you create here. So it's a nice organized code. I'm not going to show you too much of that, so you can work on that. So going through and creating the code here, and again, you're going to take that same idea and you're going to work at making a 3x3 square using that same sort of design. How many different layers of functions can you use? How can you break down the problems into smaller chunks in order to solve it? What I really want you to look at, though, is the section 4 here. So once you get done with those bubbles, 4 is actually going to have you practice a little bit of your response for the AP performance task for the create response. And we're going to look at one of the prompts. So this is a prompt. You're given a number of prompts that you're going to be writing to answer to in the create performance task. This is prompt 2B, and I want to make sure that you understand what you're looking for here. So prompt 2B states, describe the incremental and iterative development process of your program, focusing on 2 distinct points in that process. Describe the difficulties and/or opportunities you encountered and how they were resolved or incorporated. In your description, clearly indicate whether the development described was collaborative or independent. At least one of these points must refer to independent program development. So basically what we're talking about here is you have to describe how did you plan and test, that's the incremental and iterative, that's planning and testing, or the top-down design. How did you plan a particular piece of the program that you're writing? So in this particular case, you're going to be able to understand, this is how it breaks down, what the real iterative process for writing the whole program. Incremental and iterative means that you continuously improved your program. So that would be you wrote a few lines of code, you tested it. Did it work? Nope. You went back and fixed it. Or maybe you just wrote a portion of it to make sure it was doing the right thing. Then you go back and add to it. So that's what iterative means. Do you actually describe 2 points in time while writing the code and what specific issue is? So you do want to make sure that you're taking note on things that you're writing to find out what didn't work. Maybe you forgot a piece of a function. Maybe the turtle turned the wrong way. Maybe you were missing a whole step and those were some of the difficulties you ran into. Maybe you keep forgetting to put semicolons on the end of your code and it keeps giving you errors. These are the things that you want to look at. Opportunities could be, once you've written your code, maybe you've realized that you can incorporate a new function that would actually have saved you a lot of time. Maybe you were using the move forward, move forward, move forward function over and over again, and maybe you decided to just make a move forward 3 times function. So that saved you 1 line of code. So it depends. You want to take a look and see what kind of opportunities you're going to be doing. So now what you're going to do is you're going to apply this particular prompt to the 3x3 grid that you will have created in the previous bubble in here, the functions with the turtle command. So think about, how did you break down that problem? What was your developmental process there? How did you iterate and build the step-by-step of that particular grid? And then what issues did you have while you were doing it? What opportunities did you find? And you're going to try and put that together in less than 200 words. So that's one of the practice responses for the AP. So hopefully you can work on that, and that's why we're practicing that as well. And then the other ones are just checking for your understanding. So if you have any questions about this, we will be definitely going over the rubric at a later date, but at this point you can at least try to go through it now.